Welcome back to Junction 119. This is Kellan,
This is Casen.
and we are back. It is Thanksgiving week, and it just kind of came to me yesterday, Casen. We need to power rank Thanksgiving foods. I don't like because this is always like there's always a dispute, I feel,
Hmm.
among people when it comes to Thanksgiving foods, and there's cultural differences depending on like how you had Thanksgiving. This very uniquely American tradition that we have here in this country, and I'm like, let's rank some foods. We're gonna do that to close the show, but we're gonna get into of the weeks to start things out. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. It's excited to get, a little bit of a break here. So it'll be a nice, relaxing week.
Yes, I am getting really no such thing, but
Yeah,
but
that's
but with
fair.
what my
That's
job
fair.
is, it's all good. It is a change of pace and all that stuff, and maybe I'll touch on that a little bit of that later on. But I see what you're wearing there. I see what you're rocking the scarlet and gray. Oh, nice
Yeah,
hoodie.
yeah.
That's really nice hoodie too.
Thanks.
Any well, we have a whole thing. We're gonna get into of the weeks, and we're gonna start with those. I have a good amount of them, and quite frankly, I have on the docket here for Kason and I whatever we don't get to in football discussion on the other end of the weeks will be discussed. So we will arrive there. But do you want to start us off with an of the week?
Yeah. I'll get us started here.
It's
Uh,
actually a pretty fantastic football weekend for
my
you.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. My first one is uh, wait,
Mm-hmm.
wait.
Because I have one. If you
I,
don't,
I I think I think I'm seeing reports of a train derailment. It oh my, it's the lane train. The lane train is derailed. Oh no.
Oh
Oh no.
no!
The lane train derails in Gainesville. Oh
Uh,
no.
clapping that up. Clapping that up. A train derailment of the week
Yes, it
just
is
goes
train
to Ole
derailment
Miss
of the
football.
week. Yes, yes.
Go ahead.
Uh Ole Miss football. Yeah, I mean we've talked a lot about Ole Miss, about Lane. I mean they've kind of had up and down because we've dogged on him, with the Kentucky loss. We gave him some flowers when he beat Georgia, and then it's just here we are back again, swinging the pendulum the other way, and they lose to another up and down Florida team. I mean Florida,
Yeah,
seemingly better.
Florida's like
They've
caught
gotten
fire to
better.
start to end the season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've gotten better, and so they're not exactly quite the easy out that they were in September. But
Mm-hmm.
um, it's just it's one of those things where it's like if you're Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss, like you spent what $20 million on this roster to make the playoff, and you're not like your season's over before Thanksgiving, and it's just another classic Ole Miss, like everything's ahead of you, and then you just bottom out in November.
I have this written down here. Meltdown of the week just goes to Jackson Dart. Just
Yeah.
with the which is probably a little
Oh,
unfair, honestly.
I
Um,
yeah. I
Go
mean,
ahead.
I feel bad for Jackson Dart because I mean,
I do
on the
too.
whole, he had like a pretty okay game for the most part until the end of it,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
then I mean, he's been like an okay college quarterback. It's just like it was just a really bad time to have like the worst like 5 minutes of his entire career. Like for anybody who didn't see the game, I mean they were in position to go down and score with I think 2 minutes left on the clock, and Jackson Dart throws a really terrible interception,
it was
and
pretty
then
bad.
he slinks off to the sideline, looks deflated, like he you can see him like just really awful body language. But there's 2 minutes left on the clock. The defense goes out, forces a three and out. They had the timeouts. The defense gives them the ball back. Jackson Dart goes back under center, immediately throws another interception.
Mm-hmm.
That just a terrible interception. However, the defensive back dropped it,
Yes.
so it was an interception. So he gets another chance. So then he goes out there again, throws a pass to I don't know who, and it gets picked off for a third time in a row. So and then that's the end of the game. So
Yeah.
I have no idea what was going on with the play calling, because it seemed like either he had no idea what plays they were calling, the receivers had no idea, but all three of those passes looked like he didn't know where the receivers were going to be or what routes they were running. Like, they were all passes to nobody.
Yeah, I mean, it was so egregious. It really does make you wonder, like, what happened there. Like, what, like, that's one of those situations where the OC and everyone is having a meeting to begin the
It
week.
was
Like,
it
what on
was
earth happened?
it was literally like Jet Sam Darnold seeing ghosts type of
Yeah,
like stuff where you're like, what are you looking at?
yeah.
Like,
Like,
it was just to the point where you were kind of like, is there something wrong? Like, are
under,
you like, do you need LASIK? Like,
yeah,
Jameis? Like, I don't understand like how you could even be making these throws and
not feeling,
expecting them
yeah,
to be caught.
not feeling great, things along that nature.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there was something wrong with his arm. I have no idea.
That's true.
But
That's another good.
it was just very strange.
But just for some context here, Ole Miss is now 8-3. Florida 6-5. The third loss kind of effectively is going to put Ole Miss kind of out of it as far as making the playoff and things go. We'll see kind of how their season wraps up. I mean, I could still see them maybe in like some sort of, maybe not New Year's Six, but some like solid bowl game. But again, in an era where I really think that the bowl games that aren't part of the playoff are really going to start to like really lose their meaning with guys opting out and everything, it just kind of feels very deflating. So I guess that's kind of another one, a deflation of the week. Uh, my upset of the week, I really was kind of back and forth on a lot of this, but I thought maybe Oklahoma over Alabama, just the way it happened in the year that Oklahoma's had. But honestly, I got to give it to Auburn. Auburn
Yeah,
upset Texas
yeah,
A&M. I'm giving them the upset of the week because I ended up getting to watch like the whole end of that game, and we had overtime. We had two overtimes to go through, and it was cool because at Auburn they stormed the field. It was fine, but it really kind of occurred to me. I'm like, it's been a long time since we've seen scenes like this at Auburn. You know what I mean? Um, they haven't been like really relevant at that football level like they are used to in quite a long time. So it was like, wow, that's a win. The freeze to get that program kind of going in a direction at the end of the year. And again, it's a third loss and another loss in the SEC for Texas A&M. There's not enough oxygen in the room for everybody.
yeah. I mean, however, I will say that we can talk more about the game later, but
Sure.
I will say the only solace for A&M though is that they are still in position to where if they beat Texas, they're going to Atlanta
Yeah.
to play Georgia. So they would then have to beat Georgia, but I don't know. I mean, they at least still have some kind of modicum of hope of if they beat Texas and then lose in Atlanta to Georgia, that they could get one of those spots. Like, I mean, if you beat Texas, that kind of helps the resume.
It does.
So yeah, I would say they're probably the only three-loss team that could possibly um get in. But yeah, I don't. I mean, it's another one of those, like, you have everything that's in front of you. Just all you have to do is beat a terrible Auburn team, and they can't, and they couldn't do it.
Nope. The power of the War
So,
Eagle was too great. You can go next.
well, I would just didn't say that. I mean, it was a crazy overtime. I don't know. I mean, everybody has opinions. I think the 2 point conversions are kind of electric. It's like, it's fun. I
Oh yeah,
mean, a lot of people think it's like, yeah,
the 2 point conversion shootouts are pretty amazing.
yeah. I
I
mean,
think
a
it's
lot of people think
electric.
they're like, a lot of people think they're like gimmicky or whatever. But
Nope.
I mean, it's fun. I mean,
It provides the same excitement for overtime, nowhere near as long. It's not dangerous, and you still have a fair shot at winning the game. I mean,
yeah,
and they would never do this, but if the NFL took like a 2 point conversion shootout, you can't tell me that that wouldn't be electric.
2 point conversion shootout for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, yeah. No, I don't know about that, but yeah, yeah, yeah,
I mean, I mean, they're kind of, I mean, the essentially the same logic of like a shootout in hockey. Like,
yeah. Exactly. exactly. Or penalty kicks in soccer and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Uh, let's see. I have an of the week kind of shifting away from college football. Uh, how do I put this? Winter Wonderland of the week goes to the skies of Northeast Ohio, in Cleveland on Thursday night,
Yeah.
as your Browns defeated my Steelers. It has to be mentioned, and I wanted to mention it in of the weeks because of how frustrating it is for me as a Steeler fan. I view the Browns as forever the nail to the Steelers' hammer, but whenever it happens, I will admit I only saw highlights. I didn't see a second of the game, because of my work. But
Mhm.
I will say that it did give us some incredible Jameis Winston like sound bites, and it's like, of course that happens, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say, I mean, it's definitely like infuriating once again. Like I said, I think I said this before,
Hmm.
way after the first Jameis game, but it's kind of like the what this season could have been if we just
Yeah,
started Jameis from the beginning. It's just incredibly infuriating
the
that we
swashbuckler.
basically, yeah, I mean, we basically just wasted a season because somebody's making us play the $200 million quarterback that
Yeah,
everybody knows is the worst player in the entire league.
but it also at times with as hard as it is to find a franchise quarterback. I mean, dime and a dozen kind of thing. It does make you wonder how some of these franchises make quarterback play look so difficult when just a serviceable one can probably get your offense going in a decent direction. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I look at how the Steelers have turned things around with Russ being the quarterback, and
yeah, exactly.
yeah, I mean it's just like overly complicated situation there in Cleveland, and it really does show. No, I mean if you just stick Jameson there, Browns probably have a winning record.
Well,
Honestly,
but here's the thing though. Here's the thing is that the Brown, like I will say, I was gonna say one of those franchises is Minnesota. Like Minnesota
yeah.
has a history of just finding dudes when they need guys. Like Sam Darnold has looked good.
Hmm.
I mean, for the first time in a while. And then you remember the what this Sam Bradford year? I think it was
Yeah.
the Minnesota Miracle with it's a Case Keenum. Yeah, so it's just like they've had a history of just finding dudes off the street that look good. And at the time, a couple years ago, that was because of people like Kevin Stefanski.
Yep.
And in Kevin's time in Cleveland, he has shown that. I
Yep.
mean, you've seen dudes like Joe Flacco walk off his couch and win a ton and play super well. You've seen flashes of guys like PJ Walker. Like I mean, he for who he is, he
The
looks
Browns,
decent.
don't make me
And
say it. The Browns should have never kept Baker, or should have never gotten rid of Baker.
I that was another point that I was also going to say
Yep.
it's infuriating to
Now
just
it's
see him
true.
be so good.
Yeah.
I never wanted to get rid of him.
Yeah.
It's just a terrible
Now
situation
it's like
that like
confirmed. That was like a
yeah.
monumental mistake. But hey, you deal with it and move on. Um, I have more of the weeks. I want to let you save some.
Yeah. I was just gonna finish my thought of just saying
Yeah,
like
go ahead. I'm
it's
sorry.
just generally weird that like got the Browns in recent history have shown the ability to make just average quarterbacks look decent
Yeah,
for a game or two, with the exception of the guy they're paying $230 million.
exactly.
He's the only guy they can't make look competent. It's
Right. And
super weird.
I look at the Browns roster structure now, and they're very much like the Steelers. Solid contender type defense, serviceable enough offense, and maybe that's why that rivalry is kindling back up. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, we see each other, but yeah,
Anyway,
AFC North.
I just hope that our quarterback moving forward is Jameis. We'll
Yep,
see about that. But
swashbuckler.
anyway,
Jameis Winston Cuyahoga. Uh, it's great. Uh, what you got?
yeah, I've got we you did briefly mention it, but I have pre-fired of the week goes to Kalen DeBoer. He it has been announced that he will be fired in October of 2025. After
Not
losing,
actually.
yeah, no, no, but Kalen DeBoer. I mean, I yeah, it's pretty clear that like this is just not going to work as I predicted, unfortunately. I have nothing against the guy. It's just I this is going down exactly the way that I thought it would. And I think
It
many other people
kind of
thought it would.
is.
Which is
I
like
mean,
Kalen DeBoer is a fine coach. It's just his coaching style doesn't fit the SEC. Like the players are not the same players. Like Jalen Milroe is terrible. I don't know how he looked competent last year, but he looks
well, we know
awful.
he's not terrible, but he's looked terrible.
But yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
I said it before this season. It's so weird
mhm.
that in a matter of like 6 months, basically, Kalen DeBoer has removed any amount of toughness Saban put into that program the entire time he was there.
Well,
It's
and it
just gone.
well, and
You've got Ryan Williams doing TikToks with baby Gronk. You've got all the dudes just crying because they're getting their butts kicked by Oklahoma.
that
It's
somewhere
goaded.
Saban's like, this is exactly why I left, man. I this is why I said, you know what, I'm good. I and which is great because I think Saban's been fantastic on College Game Day. He's been a real good addition to the crew. It's interesting because I feel very weird about this whole thing because am I supposed to sit here and be like, oh, it's all DeBoer's fault? Well, no, because again, we're not talking about hard shoes to fill or difficult shoes to fill, impossible shoes to fill. The GOAT, literally, Nick Saban, in terms of college football head coaches. No one was going to be able to follow that up. And I think if you're Alabama, you need to take a guy like him. I think he checked all the boxes because I'm not sitting here thinking anyone else on their short list would probably have done the better of the two. And then I think hang on, and then I
No.
think part of this just the result of the new system in the playoff now. Like, is 2 to 3 losses just going to be the norm? Because if that's the case, and their losses have been strange this year, I get more on I would get more on him with how awful they looked against Oklahoma of all people. Like the fact that they just got dogged by the Sooners is rough. It's like, what, you guys just not care? You guys just like quit on the year? Did you guys just say, you know what, we'll get up for Auburn in a week? Like that's more of a detriment to me than the fact that he has 2 to 3 losses at all. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, the Tennessee loss was one thing. Even kind of the Vandy loss was like understandable
Little bit
ish.
because I mean Vandy
I mean,
just came out and straight up beat him.
given the context, it was a weird it was a weird game, and like it was understandable.
They had just played Georgia the week before and they
Yeah,
won via a miracle. Then they go on the road against a good
yeah,
Vandy team and just straight up lose. I mean, I
yeah.
can't. In other words, I can't sit here and say that I think that anyone else would be in this situation. Heck, I think if Saban was still coaching this team this year, they might still have they would definitely have at least one loss.
No, of course, I am
Yeah,
not saying
no
it's
question.
DeBoer's fault of their record. What I'm saying is he was not the right fit.
Mm.
And what
You
I
might be
think
right there.
and I think him even having the job confirmed to me that their top three people didn't take the job.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can promise you the number one call that they probably made was to Dan Lanning. And Dan
Mm.
Lanning didn't want to go.
I believe that was probably I do believe that was like a short list candidate. Yes.
And so I think that I honestly wonder if they didn't have any options after Dan Lanning said no.
Well,
Because they
who
probably
on
went down the list of former
yeah.
Saban guys of like Dan Lanning, he said no. Sark, he said no. They probably made a phone call to somebody at Georgia and they said no. Like
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have to go with somebody who is very intimately aware of the SEC, knows how to recruit, knows how to coach in the SEC, and Kalen DeBoer just isn't the guy.
Yeah.
Like he was fine
I
at
see what you're
Washington.
saying. Yeah.
He's a fine dude to fit in like the Pac-12 type of program mentality of like, let's just have some offense. You know, we have some glitz and some glamour. Like
Let's just
that
fly
is
around the field and have a good time.
that exactly that wins at a place like Washington. That could win at a
Yeah.
place like Oregon. It's
Mm-hmm.
just that doesn't work in the SEC when there are dudes just pushing you around for
Yeah.
the entire game.
Yeah. I mean, they
And that's what you saw with Brent Venables. Brent Venables told his guys, and
yes.
hats off to Brent Venables because I particularly have given him a lot of crap over his tenure there, as it's not gone according to plan. And he managed to coach his guys up the tougher to be tougher on every level of the game the
Yeah.
entire time.
I
And
uh I
that's
will
impressive.
say that to go along with what you're saying, for the first time, I mean, heck, that I can remember since before Saban, Alabama's getting pushed around at the line of scrimmage, pushed around, even in games
Yeah.
they're winning. Like they
Yeah.
are not controlling the line of scrimmage. I've never seen an Alabama team look like that, and I'm with you in the sense of in the SEC that should never be a problem
Yeah.
when you're Alabama.
And here's the thing.
So yeah, that's
My concern
yeah,
for the program, not and I say concern lightly because
sure,
LOL, I don't care. But but I mean there's rumblings that Ryan Williams is gone after this year
mm,
because I don't like he didn't go there, like he went to Alabama to have Julian Sayin as his quarterback.
yeah,
Where is Julian Sayin right now?
exactly. He is at Ohio State.
And if he knows he's not going to have any chance of winning anything, of playing with a good quarterback there, he's gonna go play for Brian Hartline. He's gonna go play
Super
with Julian
Saiyan.
Sayin. I mean,
It's gonna be electric.
that's just what I'm saying, is that
Yeah,
there's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
potential for all of the elite talent that they do have to say
To leave again.
I
Yeah,
yeah to say I don't like
dip out of
Kellan.
here.
I came here for Nick Saban. He's not here. This guy isn't good. So I'm going to go somewhere else to play with a better program.
Yeah, I can only hope for DeBoer's sake he can turn it into his Alabama. I really genuinely hope the best for the man because he was the one
Yeah.
who said, "Yeah, I'll follow up Saban." Oh man, okay, geez, that's a lot. Uh, let me shift. I'm going to shift back. Well, I wanted to make mention of this last week, but we hadn't had a show till then. My how do I put this? It's something about another thing in college football a week before. My won't back down of the week goes to the Florida Gators of last week as well.
Mm.
Since I wanted to make mention, Florida did beat LSU last week, making it three straight losses for them and handing Brian Kelly his fourth loss of the season, kind of effectively putting LSU out of it. So we'll see kind of
Yeah.
where they
Yeah.
go. And won't back down, of course. That's what they play at Florida. It's like a really
Hmm.
tradition there. Let me see here. Shifting to back to the pro football, my comeback of the week goes to the Commanders as they defeated the Cowboys in epic fashion. As their, let's be real, just season out of nowhere continues. It has been wild what the Commanders have done this year, and I'm just happy the Steelers beat them when we went over there. Any thoughts on that, if any at
Uh,
all? If you even are aware of what I'm referring to. Oh snap!
uh, yeah. I mean, I'm aware, but that's not
Oh yeah,
what
they lost the
happened.
game. I'm bad.
Yeah.
I'm bad.
Well,
Embarrassed.
here's the thing though. That does go on the point though, because I have kicker of the week,
I'm stupid. Cowboys
and
won.
that goes to Austin Seibert,
What?
which
Oh yeah.
I will say the Commanders should have won that game.
You know what I saw? I saw where they went up and then the Cowboys won it in the end. And
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
assumed that they won the game. That's my bad.
You would think that. You would
No,
think that.
no, that's my bad. I
No.
apologize.
So
It happens.
essentially what happened was they had this absolutely insane miracle play with like 20 seconds left in the game
That's what it was.
to go like
So
80
really, I should
yards
be
down the
giving them the
field.
blunder of the week. Failed comeback of the week goes to the
Yeah,
Commanders.
they had some absolutely insane miracle like 80-yard
Oh,
play
I
to go
saw it.
down
Yep.
to score. And then Austin Seibert missed the extra point to keep them down one. So then they had to go onside kick to try and get the ball back. And then that immediately turned into a kick return for a touchdown that ended the game. So yeah, I don't know. The only thing I'll say about
Mm-hmm.
that is makes sense, because do you know who drafted that kicker?
Oh boy.
The
Cowboys?
Cleveland Browns.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. So there you
Yeah,
go.
Austin Siebert went to Oklahoma, and we drafted him the year after we drafted Baker, and it was like a teammates from Oklahoma thing, and he was awful,
Well,
terrible.
foot and mouth goes to me, but let me redeem myself. My touchdown celebration of the week goes to Baker Mayfield because it just happens to
Yeah,
be the game on the docket here that's right above it. You don't know what I'm referring to. The Buccaneers absolutely destroyed the Giants, who obviously this week cut ties with Danny Dimes. It's another story
yeah,
that happened in the meantime. That's before our last show here, and I honestly, I mean, the Buccaneers demolished them, but of course, then he got a touchdown and did the veto celebration in the end zone. So that was another good one from an NFL Sunday.
yeah. I mean,
Let you comment on
I
that.
will say, the only thing I'll comment on that is, absolute bag getter of the week, Daniel Jones. Um,
Mm,
we said it at the time when they gave him that contract, like, oh my,
yeah,
get that bag, Daniel.
the payout's going to be
Uh,
crazy.
yeah, I'm trying to get the numbers on the contract. It it was total guaranteed 92 million. Um, so I would imagine, I
Wow.
don't know for sure the details, but it was a 4 years 40 for 160, but it was total guaranteed at 92. And so I'd imagine no matter what, he
Hmm.
has $92 million
Does he
for
get now?
absolutely no reason.
Does he get that on the way out the door immediately?
I Yeah, I mean, I don't know for sure if the numbers
Maybe
kind
it's
of change with when
overtime.
they cut him, but
Yeah,
yeah, but I know that I think they were planning on cutting him after the season, but he went to them and said, "Hey, can you just cut me now?"
yeah.
And they said, "Sure." So, yeah, I mean, super bizarre. I don't get it. But
I'm still convinced he's going to make it to a roster before the season ends. That is, if he wants to continue to play, because
I
is he
yeah,
decent enough to be a backup? Maybe, but like, I don't know. Like, you did just make all that money, and you don't have to play the rest of the year.
yeah, I
I
mean,
mean,
look,
kind of. It's kind
I
of
I
great. Like,
I will say, if I was like 26
yeah,
and I had $92 million, and I could just not ever work again for another day in my life, I would probably do that. I
yeah.
mean,
That's probably what you would do. Yeah, and all I had to do was convince one GM that I might be the guy to get that
yeah.
quarterback money.
Speaking of GM,
Yes,
the other team in New York, the Jets, also they fired their general manager.
yes, they did.
So they are looking for a new head coach, new general manager, and from all accounts,
A new
probably a new
quarterback.
quarterback. Yep.
The Jet
As
punt this whole Rodgers Jets era right into the sun.
I look,
Essentially.
I would just like to know
Yeah.
how literally everybody knew this is exactly how it was going to go,
Yep.
except for Woody Johnson.
Yep.
Woody Johnson and Joe Douglas were the only two people who thought this would go any other way.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, it's. I mean, we talked about it extensively on this show, on and off. But oh man, don't you just love when everything that everyone said was going to happen, watch it happen? I mean,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, all I'll say is,
and it only took a year and a half.
yeah. I mean, all I'll say is probably, I'll congratulate Aaron Rodgers on potentially his new pending position as Assistant Secretary of Health and Human Services.
Yep.
Let's see about that. But yeah, no, I mean, look, Aaron's cooked. He's terrible. He's bad. I feel bad. I do, as a Browns fan, sympathize for Jets fans. It's just like
Hmm.
their entire franchise has no direction, and the second that they thought they had hope, gone, gone.
Yeah, and it just we'll see kind of what how they pick up the pieces, and it is kind of amazing. It's interesting because I go back and I watch 30 for 30s here and there, like Elway to Marino, and it's funny how when it comes to like the way certain franchises do business, some things in the NFL truly never change, and I just feel like the Jets with their like QB luck is just one of those things. So it's tough if you're a football fan in New York right now. Well, uh, hey, that's hopefully there's a brighter tomorrow. I'm trying to see here. Oh, I do have one more of the week, and it's out of football completely. Uh, I'm throwing this in here mainly because we haven't talked a whole lot about the NBA and everything, but my are you a bust of the week goes to, hate to say it, Zion Williamson, who got injured again and is likely going to be out for another like what 4 to 6 weeks. I heard a stat today that out of like 401 games that have happened since he got drafted, he's played in 211 of them, which is around half. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And when I say bust, please understand, I mean in the sense of bust when you're taking what, number one overall. It's tough because I'm thinking to myself, is he just injury prone? Is this other stuff? But it's just here he is again injured.
I mean, it's the thing about Zion is that it's kind of exactly what we thought would kind of end up happening.
Mm,
Was there were a lot of concerns about his frame and about his like ability to stay healthy, and that's kind of exactly what's happened. Is he's been injured a lot, and it seems like he hasn't really had the ability to stay in like game shape very well.
yeah, it's tough.
For a while, and it's I would say it's kind of more like a Ben Simmons thing than like a Mark like than saying it's like Anthony Bennett. Like
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
like I think if like the ability is there, it's just there's something wrong physically to where he's just not able to be the player that people think he could be on like a consistent basis. So it's just, I mean, I think Zion, nobody would be complaining about Zion if he was drafted like 15th or 20th. It's just, that's just what happens. Like when you're the first overall pick, you get held to a standard that a lot of times is impossible to meet.
Stat of the week. You ready for this? Not really related, but kind of related in terms of like NBA durability and stuff like that. Casen, can you tell me, via trivia, do you know who the last NBA MVP to play all 82 games was?
um,
I'm making a point with
my
this.
my my guess would be Kobe.
Yes, Kobe.
Yeah,
Kobe in 2011 is the last time that an NBA MVP played all 82 games. You want to talk to me about load management and staying healthy? Oh,
yeah.
yeah. There was no talking to that guy about any of that. If I'm healthy, I'm playing. Anyway, um, yeah. That's those were all of my of the weeks. I will say.
Yeah, I've got a couple more here.
Sweet. Let's go.
Um, let's get. Uh,
Yeah.
okay, I've got one more.
There you go.
All right. Uh, I will give my dog of the week to Saquads.
Mm.
Um, it the Eagles trounced the Rams, and Saquon went for 255 and two tutties. It fantasy team, thank you, Saquon, for that.
Hmm.
But yeah, absolutely insane. I mean, he set a franchise record for rushing yards in a game. Um, Saquon's been really good this year. I mean, it good for him. I mean, because I know I was concerned for the longevity of his career after that little stint in New York when he was out for like almost two whole seasons.
Yeah.
And you were just like, is he? And then he struggled, like he came back and struggled to come back. And you're just like, is he ever going to be what he was his rookie year? And um, and he's still a machine. So I dog of the week goes to Saquon on that one.
He is an absolute dog of the week. And honestly, here's what I'll do here. I will, just because I'm going to transition, I will give an absolute dogs of the week to, it's, it galls me to say it, but the Ohio State Buckeyes. Because all of them. Because here's the deal. I was one of the people who said that this game has Ohio State by 3 touchdowns written all over it. I really was thinking about it going into this week. I'm like, as much as I'd love Indiana to come in there and upset, and that was looking pretty good for them for about a quarter. I mean, honestly, it was looking interesting there for about a quarter, and then it just kind of was like Ohio State just kind of not even really woke up. They had like kind of those feel out drives, and then they just beat him down. And he was just like, here it is. Here's the difference between these two clubs. Any thoughts? I mean, we can kind of transition out of the weeks into the general conversation because
Yeah.
that's the game we didn't talk about in it. So that's one of the
Yeah, of
things.
course. So, yeah, I was definitely really confused when the game started, and then they had some really dumb play calls immediately and went 3-and-out, and I was like, "Is this what we're doing today?
Yeah.
Like, seriously?" Uh, and then they managed, and then Indiana went right down and scored, and I was like, "Okay, this is not good."
Yeah, never
uh,
daunted, man. I was like, okay, go
but
ahead. Yeah.
then they managed to figure it out, and it was abundantly clear, after the first quarter that there was just a talent disparity there between the rosters, which with the situation of Indiana, like they it's not like they woke up in the middle of the summer with 35 stars and a completely different roster than what they had last year. Like this is
Right.
still mostly the same roster that is still talent, like with a talent disparity than from a program like Ohio State. So
When Signetti's in his first year, it's bound
yeah,
to happen
yeah,
at some point. I'm going to tell you right now, they're going to beat Purdue by 50 this coming week.
yeah.
They are going to absolutely destroy the Boilermakers because for two reasons. One, it's their rivalry for the bucket, and two, they're mad. Three, they're mad about this outcome, and they're like, well, we absolutely should beat them by 50. So,
Look,
hey,
and here's the thing. I still think that they absolutely should and will make it into the playoff. I mean,
mm-hmm.
a one-loss Big Ten team whose only loss is to the number 2 team in the country
Yeah,
by a couple touchdowns. Like it's not like they got routed.
yeah, a
Like
team.
it,
They could be sitting there, like Ohio State can still win the Big Ten championship. They could be sitting there, and that's their only loss to the champions.
yeah, yeah.
So,
And I mean,
which is
when you
all
look
likelihood going to be the case.
right, and you compare that to like a Miami, a Clemson, uh, Texas A&M. Like you
Oh
compare
yeah,
that to these other programs that like clearly don't look as good,
yeah.
and you're like, how can you justify a one-loss team being left out?
Well, also this kind of loss is good because I'm telling you right now, I would take Indiana over a lot of those teams you just named, and I want to see
Oh
what they
yeah,
do. I want them to see
yeah.
them get their shot in the playoff, and see how good these dudes really are. See if
Yeah,
they
I mean,
can't
you
make an
you
upset
you
or
give
two.
them a chance to play like another middle of the road, like an A&M or a Clemson or whatever,
Oh yeah,
and like they I like their odds. I mean,
me
they're
too.
so
Because the one big
I
thing about Signetti's teams that I've noticed, like this year, these guys don't quit. Like they don't know they don't know the meaning of the word. Like that's enough. Like they're gonna continue to compete. And yeah, I'm a big believer in Signetti. Just damn. I
I am
also
too.
yeah
He got he got a new contract extension
yep
last week, I think it was too. I just want to pull up the numbers.
mm-hmm.
They gave him another $4 million for staffing, which puts $11 million for like a total assistant
Yep
salary package, which is almost the most. It's almost the biggest in the country because I believe
yeah
Ohio State's like 11.4 is the most in the country. His own contract, his salary, uh, is basically so there's $500,000 is what his like base salary is, but then in the first year, which is next year, 6.8 million on top of it, and then 7 million the year after that,
yeah.
7.2. So his salary is going up a considerable amount beginning next year, and
I have to
so
say
we'll see.
I cannot commend the folks over there at Indiana enough also for recognizing we need to bump his staff salary too, because people are going to start to poach those guys because it's not just one guy, it's the whole system. And obviously I think over time the personnel will change and people will move on, but I thought that was great. I thought that was awesome. They took care of him and they took care of his people. So uh, great stuff over there at Indiana, despite the loss to Ohio State. Great stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
And like I'll say this too. Like even though like their schedule was really weak, and I think some people might argue that maybe the Indiana's a fraudulent, one loss team. Even with that, this season alone could make them an actual legitimate, like, you know, contender moving forward.
I agree.
Because
I mean,
you compare that, like, they are in contention to now be in the upper quarter of the Big Ten moving forward. I mean,
yeah,
like they'll probably replace Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan State. They are filling a void of, like, one of the other top five programs in the conference, and so it's actually, I appreciate it from the standpoint of, like, the message it's sending of, Washington, Oregon, USC, UCLA are moving into the conference.
yeah,
A classic Big Ten program like Indiana steps in and says, hey,
yeah. Hey, hey,
this
hey.
is my conference still. Don't you
Yeah,
be forgetting where this came from.
yeah.
This is still our conference.
And actually, like a founding member too.
Yeah.
I'm talking to you, Penn State. You joined in the '90s. Yeah. I mean, it's really cool to see. With no question, they're the story of the year. I don't really care
Yeah.
like what you think. They're the story of the
Yeah.
year in college football. What's happened to them and what they've been able to do and what they still could do. Season's not over
Mm-hmm.
yet. But here's the thing: like so quickly, everyone was like discounting them, and it's like, oh, they've had an easy schedule. It's like, okay, at what point is it enough? It's like the team's undefeated coming into this team. That's like impossible to do nowadays. All these teams more talent than them couldn't do it. It's one of those things. It's like you're trying to find more reasons. Like, okay, well, now being undefeated isn't enough. Your schedule has to be like tougher. Do you realize that they beat every opponent on their schedule to sleep before Michigan, like by multiple touchdowns? Like, it's not like you want to say, the strength of schedule is a thing. I'm like, yeah, but they beat everyone by like 25 points at least. So
Yeah.
they were passing the eye test to me. I mean, my goodness. So I don't know. I thought that was a stupid narrative going into that game. And I'm like, okay, so you're telling me that Indiana's totally out of the playoff now if they lose to Ohio State and destroy Purdue and go, what, 11-1? So I don't know. At what point isn't enough? Strength of schedule, okay. Undefeated, okay. I don't know. So it's happy to hear an Ohio State supporter like yourself say all that.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I also, recognize good stories, and I'll, root uh for long suffering fan bases
Yeah,
to actually, like, see something good happen. So
absolutely. And it just feel good stories in sports. We need more of them. You know what I mean?
yeah.
There's plenty of them all over the place, but I'm just saying you can never have too many. Like, just keep them going. So, are there any other items across the sports world you want to get to, Casen? That we
Yeah, I
need
mean,
to
I'll
address?
just
Yes.
I'll just also, circle back and say,
Hmm.
Cavs are still good.
They sure
They
are.
they did lose, but barely, but they're still looking pretty dominant, and it's a nice refresher for the city of Cleveland.
Absolutely. And
Mhm.
I also want to circle back that the snow in the Brown Steeler game was amazing. Like, it was
Oh
actually
yeah.
incredible when you see stuff like that. And I also am just sitting here thinking, see, this is why you guys need a dome out by the airport. So you can, and then it's like, yeah, but they won the game. So all they're going to be like, yeah, see, the elements helped us.
Yeah.
So, ha ha.
Yeah.
But I kind of agree with James. He's like, it really was like an NFL films type moment. I'm like, yeah, it was. It was actually pretty cool.
From my understanding, that was Jameis's first snow game.
I mean,
Uh
I would imagine it's most people's first snow game. I mean, I don't know where Jameis is originally from, but I would imagine snow like that is not what he would like have seen.
I think he's from Florida, isn't he?
I assume he's from Florida. I mean, having gone to Florida
Yeah.
State, I assume he's from down there. Which I'm like, how often has this man even seen snow like this? I mean, playing
Well,
for the
that's what I'm
Buccaneers
saying is,
and the Saints, and it's like, whoa,
yeah.
this is what can happen up here. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, this is what can happen up here. Jameis. So yeah, it's funny because like he reacting like a little kid. I think that was it was genuine reaction. It
Yeah.
was, yeah. If you're not used to seeing snow, how can you react other than to be like a little kid? Like, wow, this is crazy. And I got to play football on this? Yes, you do. And you won the game, sir. Hey, handed the Steelers their third loss of the year and in the division. So that's that. Uh, good for. Hey, it was a good week for Cleveland, and I'm assuming a pretty good week for the state of Ohio in general. So when it comes to sports fans,
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
yeah. Is it time to shift gears, Casen?
Sure, we can do that. We can shift some gears. So how do you want to do this? Do
Well,
we want to rank? Do we want to draft? Do we want to do
oh
like a
man,
Mount Rushmore? What are we doing here?
I was thinking we do five through one like we've done before.
Okay.
Because I have a genuine five that I was really kind of thinking about, and it it didn't take me long. I was like, yeah, that's it. That's the list, and I can
Okay.
justify it. And I'm very curious to see. You learn about cultures with this too. I've always said like depending on the culture or at times the ethnicities of families, different things are served. I mean, in terms of like foods at Thanksgiving. So this is
Yeah.
going to be interesting. Do you want to start?
Uh, you can start. You can start.
Okay. So top five favorite Thanksgiving foods of all time. My number five, it's kind of like a slash here. Mashed potatoes slash twice baked potatoes. The reason I say that is if you, do you know what twice baked potatoes is, Kason?
I don't think so.
It's essentially where you like hollow out like a baked potato and essentially whip up the potatoes like they're mashed potatoes, and then you put them back in. So it's like the half of the skin of the potato is sort of like a shell that it's in, and then you put cheese and bacon and stuff on top of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, twice baked potatoes is just a certain way to doing it, but like you kind of get the best of everything. You get a little bit of you get a little bit of the great baked potato with the skin. You get the nice with the cheese and the cheese and the mashed potatoes. It's great, but hey, mashed potatoes and gravy also slaps.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Uh, so that's your number five.
That's my
You're
number
like,
five.
okay,
Yes.
okay. All right. My number five. Are we just doing sides or are we doing all foods?
All
I'm trying to
foods.
figure out
All
okay,
foods.
okay. All
Anything
right.
if you have it at Thanksgiving, and tell me why.
Okay. Uh okay. Then I'll say my number five is mashed potatoes as well.
Hey, all right,
Yeah.
all right, all right, all right, all right. This is it's that starting lineup of starting five of mashed potatoes. That's not bad, but also if mashed potatoes is at five, I'm also wondering like, oh, what else you got here? Like, I'm very very curious to see what's going on. So, any reason? Any like, is there?
Well, I mean, I'll just say, mashed potatoes, they're a staple. They're uh the mashed potatoes are like your lunch pail guys. They come in, do the job. They're
Yeah,
they're not flashy. They're not flashy, but they're there to do a job and they get the job done reliably.
absolutely, no question about it. I love this. Yes, that is a mashed potatoes in a nutshell. And that's why I kind of paired them with twice baked potatoes because the
Yeah.
concept
Yeah,
essentially is the same.
I would call mashed potatoes as the fullback here of the lineup.
Love that. Love that. That's a good comparison. Maybe I got to find out some of my own as well. All right, so let's see where we start to differ here because I have another one here that a lot of people probably would put at their number one, but I'm weird and I have a different one at my number one, which is good. But my number four is macaroni and cheese, and I can say that again. I think it's become more of a universal Thanksgiving food in the last, I don't know, 10 years. I don't know. It seems like every family has their way of making it, with different types of cheese and everything. Because I've had some mac and cheese that's kind of bland, but whenever we do it
Mhm.
up, like my mom and I, oh, it's fantastic. So mac and cheese at number four. I want. Well, if I don't know if yours is like this, but I'm trying to think. The mac and cheese, I don't know. Maybe the mac and cheese is kind of like your shooting guard, or like your, maybe they are a halfback because they can be the star, but also they're also reliable and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
a lot of people would say no, that's my favorite player. So
I would say
That or tight end, something
well,
like that.
I first of all, I will also say that my number four is mac and cheese as well.
Wow.
So
Okay.
very interesting. We're off to the same start. I would say I
Yeah.
would say probably tight end because
Yeah. More
they
tight
they
end.
they they can be a flashy Travis Kelsey catching passes,
Yep.
or they could be a blocking tight end that
Absolutely.
does a lot more, nose of the grindstone type of thing. Um, so they can be depending on how you prepare, they can do
Mm-hmm.
multiple jobs. So they're very versatile that way.
Absolutely. Like this is giving me flashbacks to you remember those I remember I was one of the only people in college who would eat like the cheese curds at Buffalo Wild Wings, and then they came out
Oh
with that
yeah, yeah,
commercial where it's like, but the cheese curds, they're the actual star. It's like, yeah, they're the point guard. I'm telling you, they're
yeah,
incredible.
yeah,
And then like
yeah,
then on, everyone got the cheese curds, and I'm like, yeah, they're one of the few restaurants in the game that has cheese curds. I
yeah.
feel that at times with like people would say that about mac and cheese.
Well, yeah. I mean, when we would go, we'd always get the house sampler and get
Yeah,
the
a little bit of
cheese
everything.
cheese curds made that.
Absolutely, no question. All right, all right. So mashed potatoes and mac and cheese for both of us to start this out. This one's going to be interesting because I think some folks will have it up at the top. I have dessert at number three. I have pecan pie slash apple
Mhm.
caramel crunch pie. Now, again, it's another slash one because like my mom always made an apple caramel crunch where it's an apple pie, but then you put like the stuff on top and the caramel to give it like
Mhm.
that crunch. So it's a little bit more than just your regular apple pie. She only really did it like at Thanksgiving though, and like the holidays. It was one of those things where it was a very special occasion type thing, and you don't usually just casually get pecan pie or an apple pie. Typically, maybe regular apple pie, maybe as like a work dessert or something. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, and honestly, this is probably like wide receiver, flashy, delicious, incredible. Like yeah, it's great and traditional Thanksgiving food because I wouldn't really, I don't really eat it at all times of year. It's always like holidays and stuff.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I can get behind that.
Yeah.
I honestly actually didn't I didn't have any I didn't have dessert anywhere on my list. Mostly because like I don't like love like the traditional like pecan pie, pumpkin pie. I don't love that much. So I didn't put that on my list, but
That's fair.
definitely get that. My number three is stuffing.
Okay. I was hoping stuffing would make a list because stuffing is not on my list at all.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not even. I never really took to stuffing, but also at the same time, I look at some of the stuffing recipes I see online and elsewhere, and like TikTok, and I'm like, yeah, stuffing like that would be would be like way better. But not was never the biggest. Quite frankly, never the biggest fan of stuffing growing up because I didn't like when like say like my buns for burgers got soggy, and to me,
Mhm.
stuffing is just like eating like wet bread. So,
Yeah. Well,
but go
here's the
ahead. Yeah.
thing. I I will say the stuffing is the offensive line
Yeah.
because I'll just say
Okay.
it is very important
Yeah.
that you have a good left tackle, you have a good line, because if you don't, it's very obvious and you're going to suffer for it.
That's true.
So it good stuffing is good, but bad stuffing
Yeah.
is bad.
Maybe you're power forward. You need that. You need a solid big out there to get it done. And even if they're not necessarily, that they're out there for the presence and all that, I can see that kind
Yeah.
of being the that. That's a good one. That's a good one. Now, are you now when you say stuffing, do you mean like in the traditional sense with like the onions and like
Yeah.
stuff like
Yeah.
that? Yeah. Cool. 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 Now here's a question: was yours a family or currently whatever the situation is? Did you all stuff the turkey with stuffing? Because that's typically like what it was done, and like most families just don't do that anymore.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, that's cool. That's good.
I
So
mean,
go ahead. What?
I don't know. I don't.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I
no, we
haven't
don't do
really.
that. Okay,
Yeah,
no,
I don't
stuffing
know.
butts up. All right, so this is interesting. We're down to number two. My number two I have listed here. Number two, I have whatever your protein option is. For, traditionally, it's turkey. If you ask the late great John Madden, turducken at
Mhm.
the Thanksgiving dinner table. I will say we always had like turkey. We always went to my mom's like family for Thanksgiving growing up, and when it got to the point where I was where Thanksgiving kind of became a here and there holiday, sort of like it is now. Just working in the athletics field, but
Hmm.
turkey though always good. Now we always we always did ours in the oven. I've been told they always get people who do the deep fried turkey. If you're going to do that, please be careful. Don't burn your house down. Do it outside. But yeah, the reason I say protein though is that typically, like we actually did here in prep, we my mom and we're more fans of like say stuff like prime rib. So we actually have I deem things like prime rib to be Thanksgiving food.
Hmm.
Typically, you think about that at the holidays. Well, we have substitute that the last couple of years, and that's always good. Again, food you rarely eat. You really don't have it all that much, but that's why I wrote protein down. Like whatever your meat option is at Thanksgiving, traditionally turkey. Go for it.
Yeah, good pick. Good pick.
Which
Um,
I don't want to hear what yours first is. I'm going to think about in terms of sports. I don't know. I is the turkey the quarterback just because it's the main item we're
I would
here
say it's
for?
probably the quarterback. I would
Yeah,
say it's probably the quarterback.
it's probably the
Yeah.
quarterback.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
Yeah.
Um, my number two, uh, gotta be green bean casserole.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
All right. All right. All
the green
right.
beans, French onions, cream mushroom. Yeah, the classic.
Very.
Love it. Um,
I I
definitely a staple.
I will go ahead and just preemptively say my number one is green bean casserole. Like,
Okay,
honest
okay.
to goodness, like I just wanted to go ahead and say it because I want to enter this conversation. Yes, I love green bean casserole.
I, I definitely, I almost put it number one. I flip flopped a couple different times. So like my one and two are like basically one A and one B.
Yeah,
Like they're really interchangeable because I couldn't decide. I just had to pick. But
absolutely. Oh,
um,
oh, did you say what your number one was or no?
well, I can just now since we
Oh, okay.
go on it. My number one then is like cornbread casserole.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, is there a certain way that you like it? Because some folks you get the cornbread, but like the actual casserole that can vary. Like,
Yeah, it's like corn cat like yeah, like there's yeah, I mean I don't really know how to explain, but like uh probably whatever yeah, whatever the like main typical way is. Yeah.
solid. That wasn't a staple for us. Typically, we would always some sort of like yam or sweet
Yeah.
like sweet potato is in there. I know a lot of folks would be like sweet potato pie or pumpkin pie. Like which are you? Met some folks today. I was talking to some folks today who never had sweet potato pie, and I'm like, have you had pumpkin pie? They're like, yeah. Well, I'm like, well, texture wise, you've also had sweet potato pie,
Yeah, yeah.
but sweet potato pie to me tastes better. Um, Getting back though, I mean, green bean casserole, like it's funny because I'm glad that was high on your list too, because I swear that's like a love it or hate it item. That's a
Yeah.
very controversial thing as far as Thanksgiving goes, because I can tell you that like for me, it's always like my uncle and I are the two that love it, and it's one of those things where basically no one else really is a fan at
Yeah.
Thanksgiving except us. But it's like, okay, yeah, but it's not Thanksgiving unless you make green bean casserole. So please make green bean casserole. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much to all the people out there who ensure that those ingredients to make it are incredible, are made. Thank you, Campbell's, for the mushroom soup. Thank you, crops for existing and there being green beans with and caramelized onions, and those things. I mean, the whole thing is what, like four ingredients, but like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
delicious. So there it is. So there it is. That's great. Now, I guess to wrap this up, is there any kind of Thanksgiving tradition that you could share, or anything like that? Anything that you look forward to when it comes to Thanksgiving Day?
Uh yeah, I mean, football, watching
Football.
football with the smelling all the smells coming out of the kitchen while you're watching the Lions lose.
Or win.
Or win.
Or last year they lost. I remember they lost to Green Bay. So you watch Lions early on, and then I'm still one of those people that thinks that the NFL needs to just put three bangers on TV. It's not a great, the Cowboys. Everyone loves or hates them, so in that they make sense for that the late slot. And then in the late game is usually a random one. It's some sort of night
Mhm.
game. And I remember when they added that because it used to be two, and I'm like, how is the NFL not just commandeered Thanksgiving Day like the NBA is commandeered Christmas Day? I still think that they should really consider moving it around, but knowing some people in Michigan and Detroit, they look forward to that game every year. There's some folks who literally watch the
Mhm.
Lions every single year on Thanksgiving when they have that early slot at 12 o'clock kickoff. So, uh, and that would be taking that away. So that's pretty great. I will say, similar to you. I think every year around Thanksgiving, I become a little bit more and more thankful for it because, quite frankly, it's a lot of the good things about holidays in terms of eating food without a lot of the pressures in terms of gifts. And I'm not necessarily not having to say that. Not that I don't like buying gifts. I do, but yeah, I don't know. The older I got, my shout out my dad. He always said, the older I got, the more I appreciated Thanksgiving. Just family, food, and football. So I will also say, emphasizing this because we talked about it a year ago, absolutely amazing that the NFL has essentially deemed it like a celebration of John Madden on
Mhm.
Thanksgiving Day because no one did Thanksgiving like that man. Absolute goat
Yeah, 100%.
for sure. Well, that's the list. And I will say, were there any surprises on my end for you, for me?
I would agree that like I was a little surprised that you had green bean casserole that high,
Oh,
just because
dude,
I didn't know anybody else that loved it as much as I did. So
we learned something about each other on
yeah,
this show. That's fantastic. I always kind of consider myself the odd one out because I love green bean casserole. Like it's legit one of my favorite foods. Like I could have it more than once,
yeah,
but then again, I think to myself, if I had it all the time, it wouldn't be as special.
correct.
How it goes. Well, that's my list. I will say for you, similar. I mean, I didn't think you'd have it that high, but I'll be honest, I didn't see your number one coming. I like didn't see that coming down the tracks. The cornbread casserole for the Dubs.
Yeah,
Those are your
yeah.
Those are your goats. What position would you say green bean casserole is? I mean, we kind of went through
Ugh.
everything. I mean, not essential. Turkey's definitely the quarterback. The, turkey wasn't even on your list. Like a protein option wasn't even
Yeah,
there.
yeah. I mean, I was trying like I've always liked the sides more, so I
Yeah,
focus on like I had turkey on my list at six. Like it's just like it's just below the other options.
yeah.
It's okay. I mean, it's just sometimes it can get it can be too dry. Sometimes it's
Well,
good.
for me, if I was going to add a number six, like collard greens are up there
Yeah,
for me. Delicious, done well, ham hock, kind of thing, done traditionally. Delicious. Cracking my top five? Not really. Not quite. Not quite. Not that I don't love them. You know.
yeah,
So similar kind of thing. I get that there, but in terms of football position, I don't know the slot receiver, because ability to be
yeah,
flashy,
yeah,
but yeah,
yeah,
slot
yeah,
ability to
yeah,
be flashy, but most people are like, no, but I'm like, yeah, but I love that guy.
yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, or maybe safety because even if all else, like I know I'm gonna get green bean casserole at Thanksgiving, and like thank the Lord. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
no,
list.
I would say green bean casserole is just Travis Hunter. The
Yeah, I like that. I like that. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, that's the show. I let us know your favorite Thanksgiving foods out there. Kason, thank you for going along with my idea. I'm gonna try to think of
Yeah,
more
of
stuff like
course.
this in the future. And Kason's always tossing me out there with great show ideas and things like that. Seriously, folks out there. I just want to say, Kason, I'm thankful for you, this show, and our viewers, man.
Yeah, thank you. I'm thankful for you, thankful for all the viewers, listeners, thankful for you know, the time that the show gives us to just,
Yeah, yeah.
chat with each other.
Chat with each other, chat with our friends and family who chime in. Let me know. Let us know your favorite Thanksgiving foods. I mean, we probably have some here that we didn't even mention that you love. So let me know. Or like I love hearing from people about maybe some of the weird items that are not traditionally Thanksgiving foods, but maybe your family has them. You know what I mean? Because Thanksgiving, that's one of the other things too. You get to really kind of see different things in families, and you know, uh, recipes passed down for generations and things like
Mhm.
that. I mean, it's interesting, but I'm always happy for this kind of like extra kind of holiday we get prior to the holiday season ramping up here. Obviously this is a show for this week. We'll try to be back next week. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone out there. Hope you have a fantastic and blessed week with your family and friends and everything. Whatever you're up to. Casen, any thoughts?
Uh, no, yeah, I'll just say happy Thanksgiving. Everybody stay safe.
Yeah.
And
Also, the game is going to happen.
oh, well, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
I mean, I'm
mean,
just
true.
just throwing it out there. Michigan and Ohio State is going to happen. It is
That's
rivalry
a good
week.
point.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
we didn't
Yeah.
touch on that at all. But again, I will just say this on the way out: if Ohio State doesn't win this year,
Yeah, yeah. If yeah, yeah. Yeah, if they happen to lose that game, yeah, there will be a certain job opening posted before the clock hits zero.
fire
So,
everyone. Yeah,
yeah.
but I think I joked to you. I'm like, I've heard multiple Ohio State fans be like, fire Ryan Day on the
Hey,
field.
hey. All I'll say is I do appreciate Ryan Day's attempt to eliminate any scandal of players selling their gold pants for tattoos by just making sure no players get gold pants to sell for
Yeah,
tattoos.
yeah,
That definitely
that's
uh, removes the risk of that happening.
gotcha. Yeah, I mean that was pretty good. That was pretty good. That was pretty good there. Well, we'll see about what happens with these gold pants this coming Saturday, and we'll be checking it out and resulting in whatever it is as the regular season seems to wrap up here soon. So, any thoughts?
I no, I think that's all I had.
Cool, cool, cool. This is Kellen,
This is Casen.
and as always, we'll see you at the next stop.